Okay. So hold on, I gotta do this now.
We're like Mike. We're back.
I don't know. We had the hardest time just now. I only clicked to go uh to adding. I don't know what happened to the stream uh to this account. I think because we've been sometimes when we're away from it for a little bit, it do something funny like kick all of our accounts out, and so we basically we're trying to um add the accounts back and all that stuff, and it was really difficult, and it still didn't get all the accounts added like it should have. So I have to work on that later. Have to do some test runs later. But anyway, so you want to start
I don't know what you're talking about. What you talking
walkaway wife syndrome,
about?
the one I sent you?
I'm always supposed to do last week.
Yes, that we didn't do.
I don't know why she came up with this topic. I think she's gonna walk away from me. I don't know. You start.
You start.
I don't know how to
I'm
start.
trying to order the kids pizza real quick.
Oh, you should do that before that.
I was trying to do that and do this thing at the same time.
This topic, the walkaway wife syndrome, right? I didn't do thorough research on it, but what I do know is this: women will leave a relationship before they leave a relationship. They prepare them, and the little bit of research that I did do and reading that I did do on it, they prepare themselves to leave, whether it's from a financial, I mean whether, but it's from a financial aspect. They get all their ducks in a row, so to speak, um, before they leave. And we as men, I've been in that situation before, and my cousin went through it as well. You know, when a woman stops complaining, then you have a problem. Uh, and that's the way you look at it. You'll think everything is okay. Maybe she get it. Maybe she's tired of complaining, and she's just gonna leave you alone, let you be. But at the end of the day, she's tired of your ass. And that's what it boils down to. Uh, Now we can dive into which she needs to hurry up and order this pizza,
I'm done.
but
I'm sharing
she
another group now.
we can dive into, and I'll have to go off of her because I'm gonna give the man's point of view of it, or what I believe we as men think, whether it's right or wrong. Um, Whether you know the man should have caught the signs before. Is it possible that the man could have caught the signs and those type of things? So I have to go. I'm sorry. I have to go off of her and respond to her. Uh, in my situation, again, I thought that everything had became cool, and she was just tired of me not doing what she asked and was just gonna leave me alone. And next thing you know, up by boom bam, whole nother problem. So there
You
you go.
say that's what you're taking it
Yeah,
on?
that's what happened. Kind of sort of what happened to me a little bit.
Really?
Yeah,
Ooh.
jackass. Like with the kid and things like that. It was like, hey, blah blah blah, and then it was like, oh, got a man, he moving in, all that type of stuff. So I have to tell you
I
more
don't know if
about that.
that's similar to the same
Anyway,
thing.
yeah, kind of it is.
Because you
It
left her
kinda is.
first.
Yeah, but on the same token, it was like, she was like, no, let's be a family and let's do this, that, and the third. So she was begging, 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 and then I have to explain it to you more. I don't want to. We ain't got no time. For
Yeah,
that.
because that's just weird. I don't know how
It started. Anyway. We have to go on time. Anyway, I know what it is. My cousin went through the same thing. Like he actually, uh, and this was recent. He actually was paying all the bills in the house, working 2 jobs. His wife was going to school and all of that, and she just up one day and came with some divorce papers. So and he was irate, like, man, I don't know if you leave me, and blah blah blah. And with the growing that I had begun and still doing, I just told him what it was. I was like, man, she was telling you things and you wasn't paying attention, and you just didn't catch it. But no, man, she should have talked, and I was past talking at that point. So I'd never heard of this term walk away. What is it? Walk wife syndrome, whatever it is.
Wife syndrome.
Yeah, I never heard of this term until she sent it to me. But that's similar to what happened there too. So go, baby.
Okay, so we already established. We talked about this before. How 70% of divorces are initiated by women, right? So most of the time, when there's a divorce happening, when a couple goes through divorce, it's because the woman has filed the paperwork. That number actually increases when you get to educated women. So when it comes to educated women, 90% of the divorces filed are filed by educated women, right? And so I happen to see this term, this syndrome on Facebook when someone said they were researching divorce and they were like, came across something that talks about the walkaway wife syndrome. Has anyone heard of it? So of course I started looking it up and like, okay, no, I haven't heard of it, but I kind of can guess from the name of it, like what it would mean. And so of course, yes, when I looked it up, it was exactly what I had assumed that it was about. So basically, it's not, of course, it's not a real diagnosis, right? But it is the term that's been applied for quite some time now. It's not super new of a term, but it's a term that's been applied with regards to women in marriages. And what is they're talking about is kind of like Jermaine was talking about. You have these wives in these marriages that are unfulfilled in these marriages, right? For whatever reason. It could be a number of reasons. For example, when we look at the statistics, it says that 59% of women say they do more at home, while 20% of the men say they do. 46% of the men think the burden is equally shared, but only 34% of the women think that the burden is equally shared. 80% of the women are the primary meal preppers and grocery shoppers. 76% of the women feel they're primarily responsible for the mental load at home. And 74% of the women say they're the ones adjusting their lives for everyone else. And I don't think it's a foreign concept to hear that women feel like they are the ones that carry the, especially when it comes to the emotional burden of the relationship, like they carry that, a lot of that by themselves, or they carry the mental load of a marriage by themselves. So it seems to be happening is that you have these women who are in these marriages and they're just being burnt out, basically, and they're trying to initially speak to their spouse and tell their spouse, hey, I'm tired, I need help, I need assistance, I don't feel like we're emotionally connected, we need more alone time, we need more of this, we need more of that. And the men are just they, not really hearing them, right? They hear them but they're not hearing them. They're listening but they don't hear, they hear but they're not listening. That's what's happening, right? So you have men who are very nonchalant about things like that and think that it's not a big deal. You'll have men that kind of push back and say like, well, I'm working this many hours, what do you expect me to do? You have the men that will try to say like, okay, well, I'll try to do some things differently, but that doesn't last long.
Let me let me interject, and that's one thing that my cousin said, and we as men do too. Especially if you're in a situation where you're the breadwinner and you're working how many other jobs and you're working how many other hours, right? You're thinking, and I think that this is to me is unfair to an extent, but I can understand. And it goes with the different type of ways that men and women look at emotions, right? So a man be like, "Well, I was doing everything. I was providing this, and I was working all these hours, so you can have this, and we can do this." And at the end of the day, that is our go-to, and to the point of not listening and hearing. But all of that is good. But what she was telling you is, "I want my husband," and then it wasn't listening, and you wasn't hearing her. So when she get ready to prepare to leave, that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, go ahead.
And it's funny because it said it was one article that I was reading that kind of really stood out because it was talking about all these women and how they were talking about their experiences with the walkaway wife syndrome. Like either they had a friend who went through it or they themselves had gone through it. And one woman was talking about a friend. I guess she was friend with the guy and the woman. And when the woman left the guy, the boyfriend, he was like just completely shocked, right? But the friend, she wasn't shocked. Like she knew that the woman was going to leave because she could tell with how the woman was acting that the woman was going to leave, right? And so the guy was like, I don't know what happened. It just came out the blue, blah, blah, blah. And the lady who left said, no. I expressed my displeasure, but you like he called it a rough patch. He was like, "Oh, we're just going through a rough patch right now," so he didn't really take it seriously. So she left, and then one person was like, "No, these men know, like it's not like they're completely off guard. Like they know that their wives aren't happy. They know that their girlfriends aren't happy, but they feel like it's a tolerable level of permanent unhappiness." So tolerable
So
level
I don't
of permanent
necessarily.
unhappiness. So they're saying like, no, they figure that the woman, yeah, she may be unhappy, but it's tolerable. Like she's gonna stay because it's a tolerable level of unhappiness for her. Like, and I'm not saying that the men consciously actually think that, but I think maybe on a subconscious level, that's what's going on because I think they're taking what she feels for granted. Like, oh well, she'll get over it. It's not that important. Um, it's a rough patch. That sort of thing. So they're not even taking it really serious. And then it's like, oh, well, I don't know why. Okay, well, if you think hard about it, you definitely know why your partner left. Like you know why they left. Like if you so many men say, I don't know, I didn't realize it came out the blue. But if any of them went through some counseling session or whatever and sat there with their counselor and really unpacked their marriage, they would know. Um, why their marriage is like that. Like one time I remember Jermaine was telling me, he was like, oh well, he was telling me about some people and he was like, well, they don't ever go anywhere. I'm thinking like, I don't know how that's gonna be sustainable. Like you talking about these people don't go nowhere. Like that's crazy. Like that I can't see where anybody's happy like that. Like y'all not going on vacations, y'all not doing anything, like nothing, vacation, nothing. Nothing. How are you happy? You couldn't possibly be happy. Like, who does that? And is happy? No one. Like everyone needs to get away every once in a while. Like, and sometimes people do say that and think that, oh, our life is just good. And really your partner is like, no, it's not. Like, I would like if you surprise me with a vacation, or I would like if you surprise me with a vacation. Like, I would love that. But because he never heard her voice it, or maybe he did hear her voice it, but thought she was playing. He thought it was a tolerable level of unhappiness.
So I don't. I don't. That's hard for me to respond to because I don't think that we actually know that our wives or women are unhappy, right? Because I don't know who would actually sit there and be like, even in my worst of worst, I don't think I would ever sit there and be like, oh, she's unhappy, but she's just tolerable. Like that's
You
not.
ain't never been like, oh, she's unhappy, but it's just a rough patch, or she just going through something.
No, no. And again, I know I think differently, but yet and still, I don't think that we as men would
Okay,
think
so
that.
you even when
I,
you're talking about whatever happened to you, you didn't think that that person was unhappy when they were saying like I want to be a family. And you was just doing whatever. You didn't think that they felt any kind of way about that.
I didn't think it was necessary. The situation they may have been unhappy with,
Okay,
but I
but
think
you thought she could tolerate it.
no, I didn't think that she could tolerate it. Is I'm
You have to have because you thought it was going to continue. Like,
I just thought she'd be all right. Like she was gonna.
so you thought she could
I thought she
tolerate
was gonna
it.
get over it.
Right,
Like it wasn't that
exactly.
big
So
of a
you thought
deal.
she was gonna tolerate it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I guess. I don't
You
know.
thought she was gonna tolerate it.
I just don't see like. But that's also kind of different too because I ain't really care. But yet and still,
But if you think about it, you thought she was gonna tolerate it. It was like whatever she gonna
I
tolerate
guess
it.
I don't know, man. It's just weird that because sometimes it's the connection, and that it's the connection and how much you really love the person. And I think what happens after years and years and years and years of being together, people let things become stagnant and stale. So, all your ups and downs, ebbs and flows, and all of that is probably one of those things, like you said, you just think that it's another situation,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll, we'll get through it or whatever the case may be. But if that's been a lingering, and that's the key to me, a lingering situation. So if I'm arguing with you about your mother or your father or something, and it's been something that we've been talking about for years and years and years, to me that would be a key, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this obviously this hasn't been resolved, it's not going anywhere. We've been talking about it for 2-3 years now, and yeah, I guess I understand now. You saying it's being because it's
Mm-hmm.
been tolerated throughout this time, so
Exactly.
obviously it's not that big of a deal. And then that one, and that point, not that big of a deal especially in something like that when she's it's obviously that big of a deal for her, uh, that it becomes the deal breaker.
And what this article said, it said these men know they're offloading all their domestic responsibilities onto their partners, but they don't care because it makes their lives easier. They do just enough to keep her on the hook, but never enough to share the burden. She'll stick around as long as the unhappiness is tolerable and he won't have to step up. Men can't fathom that women don't want to be unhappy and now have the freedom to change their lives so they don't have to be. So so it's saying like again, this whole concept of men not recognizing that they're recognizing that they're unhappy, but again, just oh well, they'll get over it, they'll tolerate it, they'll do this, they'll do that, um, and that is the issue right there.
Well, also, I said this to you when you first told me this. I understand the article is about women, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that that can go both ways as well because a man can be unhappy as well, and pretty much prepare himself to leave as well. Actually, you know what? I
It
take that
definitely
back.
goes both ways,
But I
go
kind
ahead.
of take that back to an extent because we as men actually do the opposite. That's when we technically go out and start quote unquote. Now I'm thinking about get a side chick because you're scared to leave, and now you're scared to leave because you're scared you're gonna have to pay her, give up half of everything, and all of that. So we actually kind of do the opposite. So how many times have you heard people say, "Oh, I'm just staying here because I don't want to." I don't know if you heard that, but you don't want to pay her alimony or child support or
No, no,
lose
no, I get
everything.
that. Yeah.
So it's actually I kind of actually think we actually do the complete opposite in that case.
Well, it could be, but I think the reason why they talk about the walkaway wife syndrome is because of the divorce rate. Divorce is being initiated by the women. Um, and there's a couple of things that there's even look. When I was looking at this stuff, I was like, oh wow, there's even like these whole like Christian groups that are talking about like this walkaway wife syndrome, right? So one of the articles another article I read, the lady said a wife that feels disconnected from her husband becomes dissatisfied in every area of the marriage. So what tends to happen is that if she's disconnected in one area or she feels like for example, even if it's domestic chores, right? And she feels like she's carrying the brunt of the domestic chores around the house and she's not getting any help from her husband. What tends to happen then is that everything he does irritates her. So like even the stuff that probably shouldn't irritate her irritates her because she's just irritable. Like he at that point he can't do anything right? Because she's so disenchanted and so disconnected from him because she feels like she's not getting the help she needs in one area that all of a sudden this seeps out into all the areas of the marriage. And it talks about as the wives complain though, the husbands start to disengage even more. So then when the husband starts disengaging even more, which is probably where that attitude, though, she'll get over it. That's when the wives start their exit strategy. And it's funny because they're talking about how there's even articles on what to do if you how can you tell if your wife is dealing with this or getting ready, preparing to leave you. And one of the things he was talking about is that the woman will feel like I need to get out of this marriage. I'm justified in getting out this marriage. And so she'll start to do little things, but important things. Like, for example, she'll stop complaining so much about what's happening in the house. Like if he doesn't, like I complain about him now. You do a very good job at it now, though. When I was complaining about him not picking up his clothes, like he does now, right? But if I had stopped complaining about it, right, I just stopped complaining about it, stop complaining about all the other stuff that I had said, hey, I think you should do this, do that. Then that's what they say happens. The wife will stop complaining and just look at things. She won't even be engaged with what the husband is or isn't doing anymore. The other thing some of the wives will start doing is working out. They'll start engaging in more self-care. So not only working out, but they'll start taking care of themselves better, right? Taking more time out to engage in self-care. Now, this doesn't mean that they're trying to necessarily go out and find a man or be attractive to someone else.
Yeah,
it
I
just
believe
means
that's exactly what it means.
no, it's not. They're just preparing themselves to be
To
single.
find another man. So when you're single, so now that's the problem. Now, I did read that part. I think that's actually what made me stop reading. Because You mean tell me because I'm not doing what you wanted me to do or whatever the case is, now you want to doll yourself up, look all pretty, and what you doing that for? You wasn't doing it before. So
Because
that's
for some women,
exactly.
it just makes them feel bad. You now you know me, and you've already said that when I'm in a mood or if I'm irritated, if I'm down or something, what makes me feel better is me starting to
Yeah,
engage in self
yeah.
care,
And what
like
did I say at
me
first? What the
dressing
hell
up.
you dressing
Yeah,
up like
first he
that
was saying
for?
it, but now he knows.
Exactly.
Like I'll like because sometimes we'll get in a rut, especially women who feel like they're not getting help at the house, right? They'll get in a rut where they don't have time to dress up like they want to. They don't have time
But
to
now
do their
all of a sudden
makeup.
you got time to do that
Yep.
because you feeling the way you doing that as the article says. So yeah, you
It
may
makes
not
them
be
feel better too,
exactly
though.
because if you go out here and a dude say something to you sideways and you start smiling, you gonna have bodily fluids running down your left leg,
Really.
and then your right one gonna be ready to go out the door and leave the
That's
dude
not
already.
true. So what they also do is they'll go back to school. They'll start doing things to prepare themselves to live by themselves, right? Not like us again, not necessarily go and get another man or anything, but they're preparing themselves to be able to be on their own and independent, right? What the man will do is he'll take her silence and the fact that she's not complaining as okay, I guess we're getting over our rough patch because she's not complaining anymore, or so they'll take it to mean like everything is okay.
I don't know if that if they take it necessarily that. I mean, I understand the studies, but I would think that what happens and would tend to happen once she stopped complaining. You're right. We will know, but then we take that as we be a little bit more naive, and now we start hanging out more and making the situation even worse.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I believe happens. Now I understand the studies and this, that, and the third, but I can see me being in that situation like, oh, so you ain't got nothing to say. You act like you don't want to be around me. You disengage. I'm start hanging out then. And then what happens with that? Then everything really starts to fall
Well,
apart.
yeah, that could be one thing that
So
happens. But then you know, I always thought that if a person didn't really, to me, and it may be kind of a work way of thinking, but I always thought like, okay, you want your partner to every once in a while like ask like, hey, where you going or where you been at? But to me, I would feel a way if I'm gone somewhere or if I'm not
yeah,
complaining
I think
anymore,
this
or if
crazy.
I go for like, say I go somewhere and I'm gone for like hours, right? And like he never calls to check on me or nothing. Like I feel like what the hell? Like you don't care about anything about me because how am I just gone 12 hours and you haven't even tried to
Yeah,
reach out to me?
when
Like
we
what's
first
going
got together,
on?
we had that conversation. That's something that right there. I'm not. Anyway, it's a whole nother
How's that whole other thing? That just shows you don't care about somebody.
conversation.
You people even checking on the kids from time to time. Now, come on,
I
they're
ain't
adult
checking in on
kids.
them niggas.
Oh, I'm just saying. But anyway, so that was some of the signs they were telling men to look out for. And interesting enough, they were telling men that hey, if you experience your spouse going through this, you like give them some space. They said give them some space. But then also in giving them that space, start trying to acknowledge that that they have been unhappy. Start trying to acknowledge that that there's some things that you all need to work on and do those type of things, but don't be overbearing with it, right? Now you can't just be overbearing with it. And it's funny because when he had told me the situation with his relative that was going through that, and I can't remember what particular we were talking about, but I told him, I said, well, Jermaine, you don't understand. Like once that switch goes off, like that woman is hard. Remember, remember me telling, I was like, once that switch goes off where women are like, nope, I'm gone, I'm out. Like it's really hard to talk them out of that because at that point they like just kind of totally disconnected. And interesting enough, the research showed, and I don't have the article in front of me, this one in front of me, but it said like the majority of these women don't go back.
Yeah, now that's
Like they
weird to
don't
me.
go back to their marriages. Like they're done. Like they're done. Like when they get to that point, there's nothing you can do to really get them back. As far as like some of them will go, but most of them don't.
And what I would like to know, I said this. I would like to know, like, if there's been a research of after they tried those other relationships, did they really realize how important was their spouse to them? And that's for the man as well, because what I will say is this: you know how they say the grass is not green on the other side or whatever, right? You could, anytime you leave a person that you've been with for XYZ 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years, and then you go start dating somebody else. The whole thing with that is you realize after what they call it, the honeymoon period is over with, that that person gonna have flaws or things you don't like about them, and vice versa, like your partner did. But the problem becomes that I think a lot of times we realize the reason we chose that person and was with that person so long, whatever those problems was, were the ones that we could put up with. Now you deal with somebody else and they may have problems that you can't handle. Then the nostalgia kick in. And you're like, oh damn, I lost blah blah blah, whatever. So I think that I would like to see the research of how many people actually regret leaving after that.
I think it's gonna, and I think even in that research, there's gonna be some differences, right, depending on the time. Because I think if we were talking about maybe just as recent as 10 years ago, you would have probably find more women that regret that, right? But I think nowadays, I don't know, because here's the thing. Like again, all these women aren't leaving just because they found somebody else. Now they did say some of the women in doing this, their exit, some of their exit plan could be, okay, I'm gonna make enough money and then go on my own, or I'm gonna wait till the kids get this age and then leave. Or it could be they're all disenchanted in their marriage, and then some dude catches their eye, and so they're like, okay, I'm gonna be with this dude, so I'm definitely out of here, right? But I think so. I think in the past you would find more of the whole women leaving, maybe even trying to get engaged in another relationship, and then being like, oh no, I regret that I left. But nowadays, though, when there's this push for seemingly for women to be like sexually explore, this sexual exploration, and it's okay to go out and have flings, and it's okay. I mean, that's being pushed more now, more so than ever, right? So now I think you may find a lot of women, even the older women that are leaving, saying, I left, I have my own money, I don't really have to deal with a man unless I want to. Like, I'm okay with having Jim, Bob, and whoever that I can call,
and then she gets
to take me out
like that, and then she
I'm just saying, just stop it. I'm just saying though, like just that, because that's not true, and that's just now you just promote ignorance. Yeah. So I'm saying, like, I think now that women are in that position where it's like, okay, I don't need to have someone that I'm with all the time. I don't need to be with someone. And then I think even so, they're even more so thinking that. And then when I get like 65 or 70 and I decide that I want a companion, that's exactly what it's going to be. Just going to be somebody that I'm looking forward to being a companion at that point. And so it's not going to matter. So I don't think there's going to be as many women nowadays saying they regret it. They may initially regret it, but I think once they're out on their own for a while and realize, oh, I can do this and I don't need this help and I'm okay with this, then I think you're going to find that less of them are regretting it.
So then that means then the love aspect of relationships is just going to go away then, because of everybody independent, and if women go down the route of just giving a man what he wants and calling whoever whenever she wants, then if that goes down that rabbit hole, then that means there's going to be a lot more women that's out here, quote unquote, single, that's just got sex partners, and we as men already just, that's all we're chasing anyway. So then we're just not going to have any relationships.
I mean, that could be, or it could be that it's a woman that don't even care about that anymore. Maybe if she's been married for 30 years, she could care less about having sex or anything else. Maybe she's just tired, and she's like, you know what, I'm better off living my life by myself. I'm good with that. I'm working, I'm doing blah blah blah. Yeah, of course, maybe later on the age they may feel like, oh, I want to die by myself or whatever. But if they got kids and stuff that come around and everything, they might just be like, I don't care. Like, I don't want to be with anybody. Yeah, and I have no desire to be with anyone.
I think that would be a lonely feeling though. You have your kids come around, but being in bed and sleeping by yourself at night is not a.
I don't know. You have some people that have done it though, and they seem to be fine with it.
Yeah, I guess if the heart's been hurt enough, and and then went through enough, and you don't want to take that pain anymore. I guess that overrides the lonely feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand it from that point. But
Sometimes people feel like their peace is more important. Like, my peace is, and especially if you know how horrible the dating pool is now. Some people may be like, yeah, I left my marriage, but I'm not getting back in this dating pool because this is insane. So I'm just good by myself.
so I also wonder, you said the article says that men know
Mm-hmm.
that their wives are unhappy, but isn't that a little bit contradictory? Because they say they know, and then it turns around and says they're surprised by it. So how can you know your woman is your wife is unhappy and then be surprised by divorce papers?
Well, that's what the surprise is. They're saying is that I think they're more shocked that the wife was got up and said, "I'm not taking this anymore." That's where the shock, I believe, comes in. Like, that they don't like the situation, but the shock factor is, oh wow, they actually left. They're actually gonna leave me. That's where the shock comes in.
Yeah. So
Because just think about it. Let's just think about this in this term. I don't know how anyone, man or woman, could think that their partner, for example, if your main complaint is that your partner doesn't help out at all around the house, I don't know how anyone and can think. And if you have any connection with your partner, any love for your partner, you can sit there and think that they're actually okay without receiving any help at all, or that you're so disconnected from them that you can't see that they're worn and tired.
well, it depends. Like now, I think that's situational as well because if you're the if you going to work and you're working 14, 15 hours a day and this that, and the third, you're going to think that that's your effort. Like
Okay,
you're
what
going to
about the
think.
wife that works and do the house stuff herself?
I would say we as men are naive to an extent um, with that because you want it goes back to how we was talking about that 50-50 thing and then how things change. Like you want the traditional thing where your woman, well, I don't, but most people cook, clean, yeah, whoop de whoop, whoop, right? So we don't even think about, we're not considerate enough to think that, okay, she didn't work 10, 12 hours a day. All we want to do is come home, throw our feet up, drink a beer,
Because that's
watch
the
the
point,
game.
not being considerate.
But that's been going on so long, like for whatever reason, it got even worse because it got perverted where God, this generation has started making it even worse than it was already. You know what I mean? Like so they actually expect that. Like really, really expect it now because it's been pushed so much. So I don't know. I think that's what happens though, but that is actually being that's being non-considerate
But I'm
for
saying,
that.
and then my point is like, is that love though? Because at that point, then how can you? I don't know how you can love someone and be okay with them, even if even traditionally. How can you love someone and be okay with them slaving around the house and you just sitting back doing nothing?
Well, again, if I say I think it's situational because it's just like people that uh watch their mother or father get beat and they become abusive. Like if that's what you've seen your mother and father doing, uh, then that's what you're going to do as well. Like you used to your father working how many other jobs, however long, and your mother may be working and coming home and then taking care of the kids, cooking, all of that, and all your dad do is come home. If that's all you've seen,
Mm-hmm.
and I've said that about a lot of stuff that we discussed. If that's all you've seen, then that's all you're gonna know.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's up to you to try to change your own mindset on that
Mm-hmm.
or feel differently. But if that's all you've seen and then it's all you know,
Right.
and that's a lifelong of I've seen this and this is how my mother and father operated, grandfather, da, da, da. So I'm probably gonna be the same way.
But just like, okay, so like Mario said, lack of communication. That's what we've been talking about this whole time we've been doing this show, right? Is lack of communication. And
Well,
the thing is,
it's a lack of
how can you still feel like that if you're that's false teaching what he said. That's true. And the thing is, how can you feel that way if your spouse is telling you that they're tired? They're telling you, I just don't see how any person.
Because sometimes that's ingrained in people's head, uh, that that's what y'all supposed to do.
So women are supposed to be slaves.
That's now. Let me clear this up. That's what I've always said. I didn't ever need a woman that's gonna cook, clean, that bring me my plate and all of that, because that reminds me of slavery, and I've told you that. But yeah, some people think that's what's supposed to happen. Like Charles, I just seen a clip. Charles Barkley said, "Why won't you ever buy a woman a watch?" And the dude said, I was about to say the N word, and the dude said, because it's a clock on the stove. Like that's actually in people's head.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, and if you look at the people how they come in today, like on social media and all of these conversations, is about a woman supposed to do this and do that and do that, but they never discuss about how tired she may be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with what you're saying, but some type of way men don't get out of that thought process.
Yeah, well, and so what happens is that you end up with walkaway wife syndrome, where the wives are like, okay, I'm leaving. And again, I I think it's more prevalent today because women have, more things accessible to them. A lot of people will say, well, why aren't marriages lasting like, that meme that went around? Why aren't they lasting like our grandparents? It's like, because your grandparent, first of all, probably somebody said didn't have Instagram. That's number one. But number two is like, because do you know how many women back then, like, were not even educated? How in the world are they going to go live on their own? So they were doing just like you said, the men with sometimes they're staying because they haven't, because they feel like I need to stay because I don't have any money, I have no marketable skills, I can't get into the workforce. All those things are happening. And so that's why they were not leaving. But nowadays, I don't know how people expect women to stay in a situation when they have all these things accessible to them.
Yeah. So, and the other thing, in my opinion, the other thing why marriages don't last like that either is because you have to understand that people ain't willing to put in the effort and the work, right? You first argument, first rough patch. I'm sorry, people hit, they're ready to go, right? So they're ready to leave, they're ready to end it because we've been through 2 months of arguing and whatever. But that's to answer that question that she said. That's the reason the marriages don't last as long neither. So when you couple those things together, it's set up for disaster. The walkaway syndrome, going to what you said, Mario, about lack of communication. What happens is the woman actually is trying to communicate, but the husband is not really hearing or listening to her. So it is like sort of a write-off type thing. Like we're not really hearing it because I don't know why we do that. I don't know why we don't really hear our women like that. It's a lack of communication and a lack of connection is what I want to say.
Right.
Like she and we have I can feel when she's off and she can feel when I'm off. Right. So it's a connection. Like we since day one, I ain't gonna say all the time, but a lot of times we be thinking some of the same things. I always tell her we think a lot differently, but a lot of the things, like we did it today when we was talking, what were we talking about? Something we was talking about,
I remember,
and she was at the same time, and it happened several times a week, but it got better the longer we kept spending time together, and over the last 5 years, is just we just connected like that. So when I'm off, she's off. I mean, like literally, when I'm off, she's off, or when I'm off, she feels that I'm off, and vice versa. So it's not only the communication; it's the lack of connection. Because people get married in relationships for all the wrong reasons. Oh, she got a big butt. Oh, look like he got a lot of money, and so on and so forth, right? So
and I also think it has something to do. It has a lot to do with men are taught to leave and not talk and speak the uncomfortable truth, and I agree with that. So in a way, I think it also has to do with this notion of toxic masculinity that are being shoved down young kids, young boys throats all the way until they're grown. But one of the things is like this whole notion that every time if a woman comes to you and saying like has any type of complaint, it's like some men take that as a automatic challenge to their manhood for some reason, or they immediately get offended by it. And it's like, why?
I said that to you one time before too, and I just said it earlier too. That is, I answer your question why, because that's a lack of emotion, being in touch with your emotions. I don't know if guys, excuse me, I don't know if men these days understand, and I've said this several times, how important it is to be emotional, right? What was that we watched? Let me say what I was gonna say. Because when you're emotional, you're able to connect, like I just told you, I am with her, because I'm in an emotional state where I need to be able to feel feel when she's off or when something's wrong to help us, right? When you run away from your emotions, then like because if she start crying, like it literally makes me hurt inside, like I just lost somebody I loved or something, right? So that don't mean I can't go outside and knock somebody in their head if I have to, or be. We don't, as men, we the toxic masculinity that you're talking about, we can't get that. We allow that to stay in our way to get to our emotions, right? I seen somewhere where they were talking about. I think we was watching it together. We was talking about what was it? The toxic masculinity, and oh God, I can't think. And that would have been perfect to say. Anyway, go ahead. I'm gonna think about this. I gotta figure this out. That's gonna bother me.
But
the rest
no,
of the
it's
night.
like so. I'm just talking about how men feel like sometimes they take that as a challenge. Like if a woman brings up issues to them, it's like a challenge. And I remember like on some movies, like back in older movies, would say like, "You don't let your woman speak to you like that," or "You don't let your woman talk to you like that." Like there's a challenge, automatic challenge to the manhood. If a woman comes up and has any type of complaint, and they are automatically offended, or they automatically something, and it's just, I think so. A lot of that is part of it too. Why men don't pay attention to it. Why women will stop talking to them about it because they feel like they can't talk to them anymore. So that's what happened.
It was the thing with the feminine trait. What was it? You know what I'm talking about, man. We watched it because it's like, oh God, I'm gonna have to find it. Anyway, yeah, I'm sorry.
So if the woman comes with a question, a different tone, look, or anything, then the narrative, the conversation changed. The guard is down.
That's hey, and that's similar to something like what we just went through as well, right? And what I said to her, after we got through our little discussion, argument, this debate, whatever you want to call it, what we have to do is, if I come to you in a aggressive, negative way to talk about something, then, or vice versa, then the best way to make that work is if you correct me or talk to me, or vice versa. Now, same thing with her. Like if I say, "Hey, why the hell you ain't do this, that, and the third, or blah blah blah," if you automatically jump offensive and this, that, and the third, now we got a whole big argument, right? But if you like calm the situation, that's sort of like de-escalating, like what we tell the police to do. So if you talk to me in a calmer way, this, that, and the third, automatically it should make me come off of the offense, or defense is going to be offense.
That's defensive mode.
No, you'll be in the defense. It make me come off of the offense and calm down. But when you have two people that's with one come at one person with an attitude, and then the person that's getting came at with the attitude comes back with an attitude, goes on the defensive, now you got this big explosion, right? So one person has to be the calmer person to try. I mean, again, I ain't talking about somebody come at you with a knife trying to hit you in your head with a damn brick or something. I'm just saying in general in a discussion, because and for that person to be upset, obviously something bothers them, right? So then you need to, and it's probably something that you did, so you need to try to calm the situation to get y'all to a place where y'all can talk. Because once y'all lock, because my attitude used to be really, really bad. Her attitude is terrible. It's gotten better. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Stop. So if we wouldn't have been working, mine was terrible too. If we wouldn't have been working on our attitudes, and she come at me this way and I come back at her this way, then it's just gonna be hell, right? So you have to be able to calm one another down, is basically what I'm saying. So to answer your question, why we go on the defense, or when you come at us like that, that's a lack of again, emotions, being emotionally connected.
Yeah, because sometimes a woman can come at a man in a calm, peaceful way, and they still go on the defense like that. Yeah. So like, being in touch with emotion and not thinking that everything that there's no competition, that you're not enemies.
Yeah.
You know, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, you're not enemies. There's no male, female fight going on in your relationship. It
And I,
shouldn't be.
and
You know, like if she comes and tell me that she has a problem with this and this is a challenge, that shouldn't even be the case with somebody that you love.
and I'm guilty of that as well. So what I try to do, and here's the thing, I think if we put things in perspective, and people, and it's easier said than done. It takes work, right? Nobody's perfect, but when you try to, when somebody comes to you with the problem, you gotta understand that you, especially if you husband and wife, or either you're living together, man, you gotta sleep next to this man or woman. You're gonna wake up in the morning and still see this person. You gotta come home from work, go out, whatever the case may be. So why would you want to talk to that person as if they're somebody on the street that you ready to knock their head off of, and then you probably ain't got to see no more. That just
Right.
doesn't. That's illogical. Like, so you got to wake up and talk to that person. So it's, I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a very interesting concept. But it goes right
We'll be
back.
back every Wednesday, bro. We may have to do it. We're going out of town next Wednesday, um, but we may do it Tuesday or earlier Wednesday or either Thursday. But we'll figure
Yeah.
that out.
But it goes right back to the root of everything. That's that communication. That communication. Well, love first of all, love and communication.
Let me tell y'all something.
Okay, definitely. I will, Mario.
The thing about the love thing, and we've said this, we probably repeated a whole lot of stuff a whole lot of times, right? But the foundation is uh is the key. Once
Mhm.
you start off with the foundation being solid, then it's the dang on preacher too. I'm sorry, my mind went. You stack that build that foundation right. God, love, however else you want to do it, your foundation becomes solid.
Mhm.
I just said this with our counselor. Like, you can build everything else on that foundation and knock all that shit down. If that foundation ain't got no cracks in it, you're gonna be able to rebuild it.
Mhm.
So it starts there, but you have to respect one another.
Mhm.
And going back to the walkaway syndrome, I don't I can't tell you if it's right or wrong. Because she made me understand this early on in our relationships. Everybody has feelings, and everybody are entitled to their feelings. Um, I could think your feelings are wrong. Um, you can think my feelings are wrong, but they're my feelings, and I'm entitled to them. I don't have to agree with them. Um, but if what I've done to hurt your feelings, that's exactly what I've done. So then you try to get to the problem. And again, if she tells me she's offended, like, matter of fact, I'm just gonna say this. I had an incident that just happened this week. She came and said something to me, offended her. I did what a typical man do. Be like, oh man, that little crap, basically. Oh, that's little, right? To me, it was nothing. To her, it bothered her, right? And I caught myself, but originally, because that's something I had to work on. Originally, I disregarded it, like, hey, it's something little, right? I did catch myself and, like, you know what, I can't say that that's little, and then I turned around and did it again. But I still caught myself because that's something that I'm working on. We cannot say what's little to someone. So with the walkaway syndrome, those little things um like I'm speaking of, we as men think things are little and it's gigantic to our women. So if that compiles over and over and over again, it could be, hey, you're not picking up your clothes. Hey, you're not taking the garbage out. Hey, you're not cleaning the tub. And if that continuously piles up year after year after year, now she's gonna feel like she's talking to a damn kid. And I can understand somebody uh, getting fed up and tired of with that, where it kind of gets gray for me and shaky. But I can't even say that because as I'm getting ready to say it, she tried. It's like, you need to communicate, but damn, she's trying to communicate and you're not listening. So I don't know. It's a I hate to see it. Like, for my cousin, I just 24 years, and for him to be come home one day and he just have divorce papers, that was like mind blowing. That's the first time I've ever actually seen it, right? And diving into what happened, she and I was talking to him, And I honestly meant what I said. Like, he wasn't listening to her. He wasn't hearing her. And it was because he's paying all the bills, helping her go to school, and all of that, to the point she got a degree. And I promise you, 2 months after she got her degree, 3 months after the degree, she left. Got a divorce and everything else. So it's a real thing. I didn't know they had a title for it, but it's a real thing.
It's definitely a real thing.
And my cousin, to be honest with you, my cousin said the same thing. Well, no, you just don't walk away like that. You know, you communicate this, that, and the third. I was like, bro, she was trying to communicate. You wasn't listening. But no, this is blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, I understand all that. But that's when you supposed to have been trying to get to the resolution of it. You know, how upset you are now, you should have been upset that she was upset. And then y'all came to it, but you was just like, yo, that's just this, that, and the third. What am I supposed to do about it? Well, you're supposed to talk to your wife, try to come up with a solution.
Yeah, so, that's very true. So that's the walkaway wife syndrome. And I do want to. We're gonna definitely be back next week because I think we can do it while we're gone.
No, because our flight leaves 7:45
on Wednesday. No,
that's the 10th, isn't it?
No, the 10th is like Monday or something.
Man, the 10th is Wednesday.
I don't know. I'm tripping. Anyway, we'll figure something out because I really want to talk about
Wednesday.
This subject of people changing or thinking that they've changed, but they really haven't changed because you have to. This is what I want to talk about next week. You have to change for yourself and not your spouse. And I'll tell you, we'll talk about why that's so important next week. So yeah, like he said, we'll either do it Tuesday or Thursday because we'll be in the air
on the plane, yeah,
on Wednesday. So, all right.
But I want, we got a couple more minutes. I want to say this too. I think we're gonna stay on the love topic because she just said something. Mainly, I think it's gonna. I ain't said nothing to her, but I was thinking about some other things. She just said something like why marriages don't last for forever, like our grandmother and grandfather and stuff like that. That was the whole purpose. Again, I've said this before too, of us doing this, to try to make people get a clue. Hopefully, we say something that, well, you know what? Maybe if I do this in my relationship or marriage, they fix it. One person is all it takes for me, and I'll be happy. But we're gonna stay on the love thing, but there's so many other subjects I want to touch on. So I'm gonna try to discuss that with you tonight, but I'll tell you what I was thinking, and we'll talk about it. I want to have extra topics too, like about our Black community and our Black thoughts. And when I say that, it's not a necessarily a racist or racism thing, but it's us as a community, how we interact with one another via Facebook, via difference of opinions and everything else, right? Because y'all not gonna have to agree. Some of my views and things has changed over the years because of things I've seen, things I've done, dealing with a professional woman, looking at white America, how it is, and I've been called the Uncle Tom, which people don't even know what that means, and I didn't even. She had explained it to me, and things like that. So, with that being said, I think we should try to. I don't want to say educate, but try to just give different viewpoints from a hood dude to an extent with a little bit of common sense and a very educated woman. And it may offend some people, and that's definitely not the goal. The goal is to show people how we can be better as a people. And I'll tell you one thing, because we as Black people, we fight the wrong things too many times. Just like everything that's going on with Diddy, the Angela Reese girl. I made a comment saying that I have nothing personal against her. I hope she do work on the game and get better, make all the money she can, right? With that being said, she's very unprofessional. Has nothing to do with Caitlyn, has everything to do with her. Everybody wants to compare Caitlyn to her when I'm making a comment, but all I'm saying is I need her to be more professional. Oh, but when white America does this, I don't care what white America does. We're not white. Unfortunately, we're going to fight to be equal and try to be equal, but it ain't happening. How long we been on this earth?
Mm-hmm.
The odds of it's happening gonna be slim to none. But you still have to act accordingly. And I don't know. I just want to get touching to that, like, and start going that way as well as love. Most of them gonna be on marriages, right? Because I also think that has a lot to do with what we do in marriages too.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you're acting crazy and unprofessional and like you don't have no sense, then that's going to transfer over into other aspects of your life, and that's just the bottom line. I don't know.
I agree. So I think we can find a way to dedicate some of that time to talk about those type of topics too. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it does it um it actually does impact how we
And y'all hear
communicate with each other, communicate in our relationships, everything.
Y'all hear me say this a million times. Nobody has ever answered this question for me. What is, if somebody know, please tell me, what is acting black and what is acting white? Because I used to say it, and I caught this early before I even had any sense. When people say they act black, or like if a white person, whatever, they're acting black, I've never understood what that means. What I took it to mean is they talk with broken slang, because that's what we do a lot. Uh, they act at the wrong times. They act inappropriate. And when you say acting white, I've heard people say people were acting white because I've heard white people speak with proper grammar, uh, act professional in professional settings. And I'm not saying that we don't. What I'm saying is those two terms, some kind of way, get stereotyped with white people and black people. And the acting black is seen to be a negative connotation, while the acting white is a more of a positive connotation. So I don't think that those are even appropriate terms. So I don't know.
Yeah, you can talk about it.
You got 3 minutes. What you gonna do?
3 minutes for what?
To finish up. I'm saying I talked the whole 10 minutes.
He has talked. He's talked, and I don't know. He was on one, so I think we're good. Anyway, feel free. Like I said, Mario, I will definitely hit you up. We welcome having people on our podcast on this show. Hope to be able to have more guests on here. I was trying to see if I haven't asked my counselor yet about whether or not she would come on, but I think that'd be awesome if she could a little something with us. So we'll see if she'd be willing to do that. But definitely looking forward to having guests on and different ministers and other people who specialize in the things that we're talking about. SMEs, we call them, subject matter experts. Come speak and talk to us and have discussions with us. If you have any topics that you specifically want us to talk about, or if you have a question that you would like us to answer, please feel free to inbox either myself or Jermaine.
No, inbox her, because I'm
or
not
go to our group and inbox us through the group, and we will make sure that we touch on it.
And with the counseling thing, that's another thing too. For the most part, counseling, I think amongst the black community, has a negative connotation. What I realized with counseling, it has, and I was one of the ones that I don't need no counseling, whatever. I was one of them dudes. It doesn't always have to be about problems. It's funny because it's been days where I just was like blah, and she'll be being herself, and I'm still like blah. And I started talking to that lady, and it don't be about nothing but how your day going, whatever. And I just feel lighthearted. So
yeah, like today we was talking to her about the most random stuff.
Yeah, so it's not all. And then some people probably, I ain't gonna pay to talk to nobody just to do that. I mean, it's
helpful,
so because I love talking to her, but sometimes I get tired.
You know what? See, now we're gonna fight. Anyway,
I'm gonna have a haircut next week. I'm not eating no more. I'm done.
You ate those tuna sandwiches, and I only had lunch, so
I done got back up to damn near 200 pounds, y'all. I think it's the hair.
I haven't.
Yep. She's still 130.
I've been working out, doing my stuff.
All right, man. Let's go.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Peace, love, Afro Grease.